3 men stood before the most powerful king on earth and told him no. They had everything to lose: their positions, their safety, their lives. And they chose the fire anyway. By the end of this, you'll understand why the furnace they walked into might be the same one God is asking you to stop running from. King Nebuchadnezzar built a statue. Daniel chapter 3 tells us it stood 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide, plated in gold, erected on the plain of Dura in Babylon. Every official in the empire received a command: when the music plays, you bow. Fall on your face before this image, or be thrown into a blazing furnace. Simple math. Bow and live, refuse and burn. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were Jewish exiles serving in a foreign government. They'd been taken from their homeland as young men, trained in Babylonian language and customs, given Babylonian names. They had careers, influence, comfort, everything a person builds when they're trying to survive in a place that was never meant to be home. And all of it balanced on one moment of compliance. The music played. The entire plane dropped to its knees, thousands of bodies hitting the dirt in unison, and 3 men stayed standing. Picture that. A sea of bowed heads and 3 figures vertical against the skyline. You could see them from anywhere on that field. They weren't hidden, they weren't quiet, their faith was visible to every person present. But what made their choice so costly was the calculation behind it. They knew exactly what the furnace meant. This was Babylon. Executions were public spectacles designed to terrorize. The furnace was heated with fuel until the flames could be seen from a distance. These 3 men looked at the fire, looked at the golden statue, and made a decision that most of us spend our entire lives avoiding. Daniel 3, verses 16 through 18, records their response to the king. And these verses deserve to sit in your chest for a while. King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Read that last part again in your mind. Even if he does not, that phrase carries the full weight of genuine faith. They believed God could save them. They also accepted the possibility that he wouldn't, and their obedience didn't depend on the outcome. This is the part where most of us quietly negotiate with God. We'll trust him as long as the rescue is guaranteed. We'll step into discomfort as long as we can see the exit. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego sealed that exit shut and walked forward anyway. So what does your version of bowing look like? Maybe nobody's asking you to worship a golden statue, but compromise rarely announces itself that dramatically. It shows up as a small silence when you should speak, a slow drift toward whatever keeps the peace, the relationship where you hide your faith because it might make things awkward, the workplace where you laugh at what grieves the Holy Spirit because you need the promotion. The moment you know God is calling you to obedience and you run the cost-benefit analysis instead of running toward him. Every one of those moments is a plain of Dura. The music is playing. Everyone around you is bowing. And something inside you, something put there by the God who formed you, whispers, "Stay standing." Nebuchadnezzar was furious. Daniel 3, verse 19 says his attitude toward them changed, and he ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual. 7 times. The king's rage made the punishment worse than it had to be. And here's what's easy to miss. The soldiers who threw the 3 men into the furnace died from the heat before they could even step back. The fire was so intense, it killed the executioners. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego went in bound. Ropes on their wrists, clothes still on, completely powerless by every human measure. They had no weapon, no escape plan, no political leverage left. They had said their piece to the king, and now the consequence was swallowing them whole. This is the part of the faith journey that sermons sometimes rush past, the space between obedience and deliverance, the minutes, or months, or years, where you've done the right thing and the fire is real, and God hasn't shown up yet. You're in the furnace, the heat is actual, the loss is actual, and heaven is silent. If you've been there, you know the temptation that lives in that silence. Did I hear God wrong? Was the compromise really that bad? Maybe I should have just bowed. The enemy loves the furnace, because the furnace is where faith either calcifies into something unbreakable or crumbles into the flames. And what he saw made him leap to his feet. Verse 25, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods. 4, they went in as 3, bound. And now 4 figures walked freely in the middle of the blaze. The ropes were gone. The fire that killed the soldiers at the door couldn't touch the men at its center. And the 4th figure, theologians have debated his identity for centuries, but the text gives us what we need. A presence that didn't enter through the door. A presence that appeared inside the fire itself. God met them in the place everyone else was running from. He didn't pull them out before the flames touched them. He didn't send an angel to redirect them around the furnace. He showed up inside it. And that changes everything about how you understand your own suffering. You might be praying for God to remove the trial, to take away the diagnosis, the financial collapse, the broken relationship, the season of loneliness that feels like it's burning the life out of you. And God, in his wisdom that often looks like silence, may be doing something you didn't ask for. He may be walking into the fire with you. The deliverance you're begging for might already be happening, and it looks like his presence in the middle of what you were sure would destroy you. The 3 men came out. Daniel 3, verses 26 and 27 describe the scene. The satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors crowded around them. The fire had done nothing. Their hair wasn't singed. Their robes weren't scorched. They didn't even smell like smoke. Think about the fires you've walked through in your own life. Some of them left scars. Some of them left a smell that followed you. Bitterness, fear, distrust. When God is the one walking through the fire with you, you come out without the smell. The experience shapes you, but it doesn't define you. The furnace becomes a testimony, a place where something was forged in you that comfort could never produce. Nebuchadnezzar's response is one of the most overlooked verses in the chapter. Verse 28, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God." The same king who built the idol now praised the living God. The same mouth that ordered their execution declared God's sovereignty. Their faithfulness in the furnace became a witness to the most powerful man in the known world. Your obedience in the fire has an audience you can't see. The co-worker watching how you handle the setback, the child observing whether your faith survives pressure or only works in comfort. The spouse who needs to see that God is real, and the proof they need might be watching you walk into a furnace with your hands open and your back straight. But here's where this story asks something uncomfortable of you. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't discover God's faithfulness from a distance. They discovered it inside the heat. The 4th figure in the fire only appears to those who enter the furnace. You can read about God's presence in suffering. You can study it. You can nod along in a Sunday service when the pastor talks about trials producing perseverance. James 1 verses 2 through 4 says it plainly. "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Joy in trials, maturity through testing, completeness through perseverance. These aren't abstract theological concepts. They're furnace theology, truths you can only verify by walking in. Some of you are standing on the plane right now. The music is playing. The pressure to bow comes from people you love, institutions you depend on, fears you've carried since childhood, and the furnace looks terrifying. It should. Obedience to God has never been safe by the world's measurements. It cost the apostles their lives. It cost Jesus the cross. The call was never follow me and nothing will hurt. The call was follow me and I will be with you in whatever comes. So the question facing you today is the same one that faced 3 exiles on a Babylonian plain. Will you bow to keep the peace, or will you stand and trust that the God who is able is also the God who is present? Will you choose the furnace, the hard conversation, the costly obedience, the faith that doesn't negotiate, knowing that the fire is where the 4th figure walks? Your ropes burn before your skin does. The things that bind you, fear, people-pleasing, the need to control the outcome, those are the first casualties of the furnace. God doesn't waste the fire. He uses it to free you from everything you thought was keeping you safe, but was actually keeping you bound. Somewhere in your life right now, there's a furnace with a door open. You've been staring at it for weeks, maybe months. You know what God is asking, and you keep calculating the cost instead of remembering who walks in the flames. Step in. The fourth figure is already there, waiting.